financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. We have with us our special recurring guest, Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, along with my cohorts, David Einsteinig and Brian Small, and we are going to let Pat walk us through together with the concept of how you deal with the nursing home problem from the standpoint of having adequate assets to cover that, covering the cost of that care, and not allowing that situation to take every last disposable penny that you have, so that if you have a spouse, that there's money left for the spouse to live, or so that there's some legacy left to leave to your children, if you can do that. Now, Pat's with Simasko Law. They've been around since 1955. They're elder law and wealth preservation specialists. They do Medicaid planning, estate planning, probate, VA benefits. Pat's been on the show numerous times. We're good friends. Welcome, Pat.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, so here's the problem. People are living longer and not dying. That's a good thing, but it's causing problems, and it always has. The longer you live, the greater chance you have of running out of money just in retirement, regardless of whether you end up in the nursing home.
That's everyone's number one fear, of running out of money over health issues, dying, hands down.
It's my fear, and I'm not even in retirement. Yeah. I always worry about that. And the other one is the cost of nursing care. And that you add, that's like, I don't want to say icing on the cake, but it is, you've got this lingering concern, do I have enough income and assets to get me through to the end of my life? And then at the final stage of your life, you could be looking at the prospect of nursing home care, which is how much nowadays?
About $8,000 a month.
So if the average household only has $9,000 on cash to in their entire savings as far as liquid cash.
Where'd you get $9,000 from?
Last segment.
No, it was
9 days.
9 days. Or 9 days.
I couldn't resist the
9
opportunity
days.
to just crash
9
you
days.
on that.
So if the average household has 9 days of liquid cash, I understand you're talking
That's a
about
problem.
liquidating assets. The answer to your question is absolutely not. There is not sufficient income.
They don't have a problem from the standpoint of nursing home care because they'll qualify for Medicaid.
Right. What it is that you're spending the money. You don't want to go to the nursing home, so you have to have enough assets to pay for the in-home care, independent living, like your dad where he's at, assisted living, and Medicaid doesn't have any government benefit that'll help pay that.
I mean, here's how I see I see four ways of addressing the problem. One is win the lottery, and then you don't have to worry. You can just pay cash for everything that you need. Number two is long-term care insurance for the nursing home. Number three is Medicaid planning. And number four is, if you're a vet, taking advantage of veterans aid and attendant care.
Right.
All right.
So
I
Pat,
want you to
do you
walk
have the winning lotto numbers?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I do.
what I want you to do. Our ratings will go out skyrocket. We will be the number one show on television and on radio if you can walk us through how to get the winning lottery ticket.
I will. Get your pencils, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Normally you would say we'd have to take a break, and then we'd make them come back after the break for
Well,
that.
sadly, everyone will win, and that'll be $1 a person. So.
All right, so let's assume we're not going to win the lottery. Okay, and let's talk about how do you make yourself Medicaid eligible. And first, what's Medicaid?
Medicaid is the government benefit that helps pay for nursing home care. It says it pays for in-home or assisted living. It really doesn't. It's designed specifically for nursing homes.
All right, so if you qualify for Medicaid, then is the government paying the nursing home?
Yeah, what happens, there's a patient pay amount. So if mom makes $1,060 a month, she gets to keep $60 of it for her personal needs, and the $1,000 will go to the nursing home. And then Medicaid pays the difference.
So let's say the 1,000 was your Social Security
Correct.
benefit. So
Yeah.
you don't get to keep your Social Security.
No, you don't, and it's not that it goes to the nursing home. It goes into the bank account like normal, but your patient pay amount, if the nursing home is $8,000 a month, you pay $1,000. Medicaid will pick up the difference.
Is Medicaid an unlimited period of time? I mean, once you're
Yeah.
eligible for that nursing home, you're eligible until basically you're in a pine box.
We've had people 7-8 years in nursing homes. on
How
Medicaid.
often do people go into a nursing home and exit without
Well,
going
it's a
in
good
the pine
question.
box?
A third of us will be in the nursing home. The average length is 32 months. So you're talking,
And at the end of the 32 months, we're gone typically?
yeah.
I mean,
Somebody writes an article about
Well,
it. Yeah.
let's back up one
anybody
step.
ever go, okay, I'm done with the nursing home, I'm going back home and back to retirement?
Probably 80, and I'm guessing at the numbers, but 80-90% of people end up in a nursing home for rehab at some time.
That's a different
Pays that. You got up to 100 days of nursing home rehab stay, and then after the 100 days, then typically you go home.
That's if you've been admitted to a hospital for 3 days.
Yeah, you need to be in a hospital 3 days.
All right, let's talk about a little planning. Now, without planning, what's exempt? What are you allowed? I want to walk through, I've got a chart here. What are you allowed to keep from the standpoint of if you want to be eligible
Sure.
for Medicaid? How much cash can you have?
Okay, we're talking single people right
Yeah.
now. So a single person allowed to keep $2,000 of cash assets, but those assets includes IRAs, 401ks, bank accounts,
Well, that's it. That's everything.
everything.
Okay, what about a car?
Mom's 137 years old. She's never driven a day in her life. She can still own a car.
Does it matter what type of car? Could
No.
it be a Rolls Royce?
She could own a Rolls Royce.
What if
So-
she
so
took
you
her
can-
money and could you take your money and buy a Jaguar the week before you?
Yes.
Oh, so sometimes
Yeah.
that could be a planning tool.
Well, that has been a great planning tool. They're talking about changing that you have to buy a car before you hit the nursing home, and it has to be under $25,000. But they haven't changed that.
So right
rule.
now, you could go to the Mecum auction and get a high-value collectible car that you know is going to have equity in it, or at least value in it, and put it all in there and see what happens.
Yeah. Or what's usually works is you buy one of the kids' cars. So you were talking about needing a car. You sell Dad your car, and he can own your car, and you could drive it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
House. Can you keep the house?
You can keep the house. Now it's subject to the Estate Recovery Act. With the house, there's a new law change that came out a couple years ago. It has to have a value of under $500,000.
If it's over 500,000, what happens?
You have to get a home equity loan and pull out that extra, the difference. It's a little more than 500.
We
'cause
come back
adjusted.
after the break. Explain to me this Estate Recovery Act, the lien issue.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. We're with Pat Samasco, and we're working through nursing home care and Medicaid issues. I want to get announcements out of the way. We've got a couple events coming up. Particularly on this topic, we have a seminar on Wednesday, February 11th at the Concord Inn in Clinton Township from 10 a.m. to 11:30. It is called 60 plus what you and your parents need to know and plan. Pat Samasco from Samasco Law is going to lead us through the same issues we're talking about today in greater depth. I'm also going to participate from the standpoint of elder law-ish financial issues that tie directly into these same issues. We'll cover Medicaid planning for your parents, estate planning issues, how to qualify for veterans benefits for aid and attendant care. It's a really valuable seminar. Let me just explain it to you this way. There's no escape. If you live long enough, and if your parents are alive, you're going to cross into these roads. I'm 60, and I'm seeing it happen right now. My dad's 90. His health is starting to get a big question mark. These issues, you can't, if you're fortunate enough to live long enough and have your parents alive, you're going to have to deal with these issues, and knowing them and what they are and planning for them, because there's look-back periods that we have to worry about.
You know, it's funny.
It's important.
Your dad's 90. Worried about it. My father-in-law had Alzheimer's at 54, and my dad had a stroke at 61. They were both in the nursing home at that age.
Yeah, so maybe it should be 40 plus
Well, you
plus
never
in
know.
terms of the seminar, not 60
need-
plus plus. So anyway, to sign up for the seminar, it is free. Go to thavgross.com or lawandreality.com. There's a form right there. You fill it out. We'll mail you your tickets. You can also call and register at 888-235-HELP and take advantage of the seminar. The other seminar coming up is on February 24th. It's called It's Time to End Debt Now. It's in our offices in Bingham Farms from 7 to 8:30 p.m., focusing on how to preserve future income for savings. To me, saving money is a function of elimination of debt. If you're carrying too much debt, it's an impediment to savings. Savings is extremely important because you're going to live long, you're going to be healthy, and you need to have money to live on. You can't become dependent on Social Security. It's not going to work for you. Same sign-up method, thavgross.com, lawandreality.com. Want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross and Samasco Law, and let's move on. And then also keep in mind you can do the Financial Crisis Analyzer on the Law and Reality website as well. Now back to Medicaid issues. When we were working through what's exempt on the house, what's this Estate Recovery Act?
What happened is if you own a house and you're in a nursing home, Medicaid doesn't make you sell the house, so it's an exempt asset in that respect. But if you pass away and the house has to go through probate, Medicaid, the Estate Recovery Act allows Department of Human Services to file a lien on the probate estate, so they would get paid off of the top. So the house would be sold.
So the key is you have to keep that house out of probate?
You're absolutely right.
So
With
you
planning.
can you move the house into a trust within the 5-year look-back period?
No, that's the weird thing is that if you have these revocable trusts, they're designed to avoid probate, but to have the house be exempt, it has to be owned by you individually. So you have to take the house out of the trust. And once the house is out of the trust, you have to be able to get it back into the trust after they pass away, and that's called a ladybird deed.
So there's a strategy to get it out of probate, but not into a revocable living
Right.
trust, so that you then are avoiding
Right.
probate, but you have the ability to pass the house on to your to whoever you want to
Right.
under a ladybird
Right.
deed.
And does this matter whether or not you're single, or if you're married?
Well, it matters in the sense that if you're a married couple, if dad dies who's in the nursing home, it goes to mom with the joint deed. There's no probate there, so there's no estate recovery. But what happens if mom dies first? Mom dies, dad's in the nursing home, the house reverts back to dad. And all of a sudden now we have that issue. And if you don't know that, you could absolutely lose the house. We've had a number of family members that came in when it's too late. And what's the critical thing that everybody has to know now in a planning sense is they have to have a power of attorney that allows the family members to make those deeds and create the Lady Bird deeds. Because if you don't have that power of attorney that has that special language in it, which every or almost every UAW member that has the free legal services, those power of attorneys are 100% garbage in my opinion.
Now, to drill on that point, the reason why you need the power of attorney is you have to have mom and dad sign the power of attorney while they have the legal capacity to contract, where they're still competent. Then, when the problem arises, the son or the daughter has the power of attorney. Even if mom and dad are not capable of making their own decisions, we can still do the Lady Bird deed.
Right.
But if you don't have the power of attorney, or the power of attorney is defective and mom and dad are no longer legally together, you're stuck.
So there's the case. Lady Bird deed says mom owns the house, she dies, it goes to the kids. She dies, it goes to the trust. So it's in her name. She passes away, it goes to the trust, it avoids probate. So we had a viewer that listened to our show one time and came in on a Thursday at 4 o'clock. Mom's in the nursing home, paying to keep the house going for the last 3 years. Luckily, we had a power of attorney. We did a Lady Bird deed Thursday night about 4 o'clock. She died Friday morning. And if we would not have done that deed, we would have lost the house because power of attorneys cancel upon death. Death is irrevocable, so you have to have everything done before that happens.
There are no exceptions to death. There's no way of getting around dying.
No
Once
way
you're dead, you can't undead.
You cannot undead yourself.
All right, let me go through the rest of our list. What about a cottage? Can you keep the cottage?
It's a countable asset. For single people, that would put you over the limit. Cottage, condos, interest in your
rental property.
Dad died and left the cottage to the 4 kids. That 1/4 share is an interest. How about daughter? Single daughter has mom on her bank account, put mom on her house. Is that an asset for mom? Absolutely. So if mom's on anything, it's an asset
Which is
for Medicaid.
one of those things that we've been talking about for years. Do not commingle assets with your kids or your parents.
Yep. Very good point. For bankruptcy, for Medicaid planning, for estate planning, for everything.
Absolutely.
Boats?
Accountable.
Funeral contract?
You're allowed to bury yourself
and
your
nice.
spouse. And
is there a cap on the dollars?
Well,
yeah, but Medicaid comes and gets a shovel
Can you
afterwards.
have a Class A funeral,
Yes.
or you have to be Class A?
You can buy all the goods that you want, but there's a 9 or 10 grand limit on services, like the embalming and the.
Okay. So
you can't buy flowers though, and you can't pay the
no
priest
flowers.
Or the.
What about perpetual care?
That's part of the funeral.
Jewelry? Can you keep your jewelry?
Yeah. All personal property you can keep.
Retirement accounts? No.
No.
We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. Pat Simasko is walking us through Medicaid planning. We're working through what assets you can keep and can't keep. What about life insurance? Cash value?
Yeah, you can keep up to $1,500 face value of life insurance, and if the face value is higher, you can keep the cash value. Anything, if the face value is $2,000, you got to cash it in. If the face value is under $1,500, you can keep it. So everybody has.
So you have a $100,000 policy with a $5,000 cash value.
You have to cash it in.
But if you had a $100,000 policy with a $1,500 cash value,
you can keep it.
Yeah, because you can't keep, if you have face value with no cash value, like term policy, there's
that
no.
doesn't have an asset value then.
Okay, so it's it's the cash value that you're focused on.
So here's the case though. Let's say Dad has a $100,000 term policy and Mom's in the nursing home. Well, who's the beneficiary of Dad's term policy? Mom.
Got to change that.
So if Dad dies, it goes to Mom. She's off Medicaid.
Yeah.
So you have to look at all those different issues.
Or the money goes to Medicaid.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. Yeah.
What's the 5-year look back rule?
5-year look back says if you're trying to protect your assets from the nursing home, and I say protect them, you have to do it 5 years before you're in the nursing home. They look back 5 years to see if there's any transfers that were made. So if Mom gave money to the grandkids or she loaned money to the grandkids, that's a divestment that you'd have to have that paid back within the 5 years.
So the optimal planning says you've got to do this 5 years ahead of the day that Mom and Dad have to go into the nursing home?
Right. So check your schedule. So when you know you're going in, we'll schedule the appointment 5 years ahead of time.
Yeah. So
but if you don't know, then you should start doing it now.
And that's probably my take on that is it's the biggest problem. Because people don't recognize that day of reckoning is coming, and they keep delaying the action.
Right.
So if you're out there, you gotta be realistic. If you want to maximize your ability to hang on to your assets and your property, you need to make the moves 5 years ahead.
Right.
If you don't, is there crisis planning? What do you do then?
Well, for a married couple, we right now, even with the Medicaid rules as bad as they're getting, we can still protect all of the assets for a married couple. Called spousal impoverishment. Even Medicaid doesn't want to put the mom at home out on the street. So we can protect the assets if they're married. We have families that have $1 million in assets on Medicaid. It's the single people in a crisis plan. We can typically protect the house always, the car always, the funeral contract always, but about 50 to 60% of the rest of their assets.
But when you say
better than nothing.
When you even if you have a married couple and you can protect what you say, all of the assets, you still have a cost to that. You may have some tax recognition and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the facts and see, does it? There's a risk decision that has to be made.
Yeah, if Dad's going to live 3 months in the nursing home, or is Dad going to live 10 years in the nursing home? So those are the issues that we just have to play out as to what to do.
But when you look at that married couple, regardless, it isn't automatic protections. You've got to do the planning in advance, and you should be looking at that when you're 40. When you're looking at it when you're 50, you should. If you haven't done it and you're in your 80s, you better be doing it now.
When you want to really start is at retirement age, because that's when you start making some critical decisions about your 401k plans and pulling money out and tax planning. So at age 60, 65, you should start looking at this in the long term, because you're changing your philosophy from accumulating assets to now preserving and deaccumulate. You're spending your income.
And another point, Pat and I actually worked on this in a real file. It was a sibling who was very wealthy, was worried about their sister or brother who is sick,
Right.
is going to wind up in a nursing home,
Right.
and we put some things into place. We actually took the 5-year look back and made it irrelevant by taking certain security interests in loans and putting it into the house, and therefore that person could qualify today for Medicaid, and they're taken care of.
We're coming up to the end of the segment, and we don't have time to address the veterans benefits issue, but tell us what it is, and then we'll do a separate segment on the show covering veterans benefits.
The VA benefit is the greatest thing out there right now because Medicaid doesn't pay for nursing home care. No, Medicaid doesn't pay for in-home care or assisted living, so you need help. Veteran benefits will help pay for in-home care, assisted living care, and even nursing home care during the spend down if you're a wartime veteran, and that's defined as 90 days of active duty, 1 day during wartime. And it's for the surviving spouse as well.
If you're watching on the show, I'm going to put out the chart of what wars are covered, and it's interesting. They call the Korean War the Korean conflict. They call the Vietnam War the Vietnam era. It's interesting, but they call it WW2 WW2.
So World War II, there's not many left. Some of the spouses are left, but not many WW2 guys. Korea 50 to 55. Vietnam, and it's very important wartime. You don't have to be in country. You don't have to be charging up the hill. You don't have to be hurt in service to get the benefit. But for the Vietnam era, there's a lot of Vietnam guys that were in between 61 and 64, but they were stationed in Germany or stateside. They would have to be in country 1 day. So anytime after August of 1964, you don't have to be in country at all. Just be in the service one day.
All right, now I'm going to flash up on the screen. The benefits are this. If you have two married vets, which would be husband and wife, both vet, you could get up to $2,617 a month. If you have a veteran with a dependent spouse, you could get $2,054. I think the most common would be the single vet. In that case, you got $1,732. I guess veteran with dependent spouse would be common too.
Yeah, it's a married couple. So if you're married, $2,000. If you're a single vet, $1,700, and the surviving spouse, $1,100.
What if you just get the money automatic, or what? Or do you have to show need?
You have to have assets under a certain limit, and you have to be spending your income on your care. So if you're spending money on the assisted living, you're spending your income on the caregivers. You can have family caregivers come in and take care of you. My brother took care of my dad.
We're out of time. I want to wrap up on this by saying the other nice thing about that, and we'll do a special segment on this, is there's no look-back period on transferring assets.
That came out this week that they're going to start looking at a 3-year look-back.
So people need to be aware of that and start working on this. Pat, thanks for joining us on this segment. Very important information. If you're interested in more, come to that seminar at the Concord Inn. Go to our websites to sign up. We'll be back with the next segment.